Hey everyone, we're all chasing something in life, right? But what if the things we're told will make us happy, the money, the success, the stuff, are actually leading us down the wrong path? Today, we're going to break down a really practical way to find genuine fulfillment, not by getting more, but by understanding what we truly value deep down. So let's start with the big one. What is it we're all actually after? We spend our entire lives working, planning, striving, but for what really? Is it just happiness? Success? This question is at the very heart of everything we do every single day. And right away, we run into this huge disconnect. On one hand, you've got the prevailing idea of happiness. It's like a hamster wheel, right? The idea that more wealth, more luxury, more status will finally make you happy. But then there's another path, one that suggests true happiness isn't about what you have, but about your inner state. It's about really understanding things, having great relationships, and just feeling content. So how do we even get there? Well, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to build this whole idea from the inside out. We'll start with why values are so important in the first place, then we'll dive into a process of self-exploration. From there, we'll see how that inner work helps us find harmony with ourselves, with others, and with nature, which all leads to a much more ethical and frankly meaningful life. Okay, let's kick things off with that big why. In a world that is constantly pulling us in a million different directions, why is it more important than ever to just stop and figure out what our core values really are? Well, the solution proposed here is something called value education. And don't think of this like homework. Think of it more like a toolkit for living a better life. It's about building a strong moral character, which in turn leads to more social harmony. It helps cut down on things like corruption and actually helps us find that inner peace we're all looking for. It's about developing the whole person, not just our academic skills. And, the alternative is pretty stark. When we only focus on getting more stuff, it creates this chain reaction, this domino effect. It starts with personal stress and anxiety, but then it spills over into bigger problems, like exploiting other people and damaging the environment. It really shows how our own inner health is directly connected to the health of the world around us. So, if that old way of chasing material things isn't working, what's the alternative? Well, that brings us to this idea, the journey of self-exploration. And look, this isn't some vague, abstract philosophy. It's a really practical process for discovering what is genuinely valuable to you. At its heart, self-exploration is basically an internal investigation. It's like you're a detective for your own mind. You're examining your own thoughts and beliefs to sort out what you actually value versus all the noise you've picked up from society and everyone else. It's about finding your own true north. And this gives us a fantastic 3-step method for how to do this. First, anytime you hear an idea, don't just accept it or reject it. Treat it like a proposal, something you're going to test out. Second, check it against your natural acceptance. That's that deep gut feeling of what feels right and true to everyone. For instance, the desire to be treated with respect. That feels right to everyone, everywhere. And finally, you gotta test it in the real world. Live by that proposal. If it actually leads to happiness for you and the people around you, then you know you found a real value. Now, this whole process of exploration has to start in one place, right here with ourselves. Before we can find harmony with the world, we first have to understand the harmony, or, the lack of it, that's going on inside. Okay, so here's a really fundamental concept to grasp. A human being is basically a coexistence of two different things. There's the self, that's your consciousness, the I that's thinking and feeling right now, and then there's the body. You can think of the self as the driver and the body as the car that it uses to get around in the world. And this table just lays out the massive difference between the two. The needs of the self are qualitative and they're continuous, things like trust and respect. You never say, okay, I've had enough respect for today, I'm full. But the needs of the body are quantitative and temporary, like food. You eat, you get full, and you stop. So much of our stress and unhappiness comes from one simple mistake. We try to satisfy the infinite needs of the self with finite things that are meant for the body. All right, so once we start to get our own house in order, we can then start to extend that harmony outwards to other people. And that brings us to section 4, how we build truly harmonious relationships. The absolute bedrock of any healthy relationship is trust. But what is it really? Well, it's defined here as the core belief that the other person wants you to be happy, that they have your best interests at heart. It's a belief in their fundamental intention. Without that, everything else just falls apart. So trust is that foundation, and once it's there, all of these other essential feelings can start to grow on top of it. Things like respect, affection, care, gratitude, they all build on each other. And they all lead up to love, which is described here as the complete value. It's that feeling of experiencing all of these others at the same time. Okay, but how do we keep that trust when people inevitably mess up? This right here is a super powerful tool, learning to separate someone's intention from their competence. Intention is what they want to do. Competence is what they're able to do. So in this example, the father wants to help with the homework. His intention is totally good. He just doesn't have the skill, the competence to do the new math. When we start judging people on their intention, which is almost always good, we can keep that trust, even when their abilities let them down. So we've talked about harmony within ourselves and harmony with other people. Now let's zoom out even further and look at the next circle, our relationship with nature itself. To really get a handle on our place in the ecosystem, we can think about it in these 4 interconnected orders. You've got the material order, soil, water, air. Then you've got the plant order, the animal order, and finally, the human order. It's just a simple way to see how everything fits together. But here's the key insight. These orders aren't separate things. They're all part of a big cycle where they support each other. Soil feeds plants, plants feed animals, and so on. But humans, we're unique. Because we have consciousness, we're the only order that could actually understand this whole system. And that gives us a pretty unique responsibility to be the guardians of this balance, not the ones who mess it up. And that brings us to our final section, where all of these pieces really come together. Because when you're living in harmony with yourself, with others, and with nature, living an ethical life just becomes the natural result. So, what is ethical conduct? It's not about following a long, boring list of rules. It's simply the natural way you act when you have right understanding, when you can see how everything we've just talked about is connected. When you truly get that your well-being is tied to the well-being of others and the planet, you just naturally start acting in a way that benefits everyone. And this quote brings it right into our work lives. Being a true professional isn't just about being good at the technical parts of your job. It's also about moral competence, acting with integrity, and social competence, understanding how your work impacts the world. A truly great professional has mastered all 3. So at the end of the day, what's the payoff for this whole journey? Well, the results are very real and they're life-changing. Inner peace, less stress, stronger relationships built on trust, a clear sense of purpose, and the ability to actually make a positive difference in the world. It really is a roadmap to a prosperous life, both inside and out. And so we'll end with one final question for you to think about. If someone who didn't know you could only watch your actions, how you work, how you treat people, how you spend your money, what would they say you truly value? It's a powerful thought to kickstart your own journey of self-exploration. Thanks for joining me.